Welcome. It's nice to have you here. I hope you enjoy it. I think you will.
You're listening to the Jam Session Podcast.
I was told that I could listen to the radio at a reasonable volume.
With Cowboys insider...
What's your name?
Jean-Jacques Taylor.
That's my name.
Radio personality and craft beer expert, Matt McLaren.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot. Comes from upbringing.
And now, the Jam Session Podcast.
Jam Session. Subscribe, rate, and review, and hang out with us for a while. Right here on Jam Session. The moment we've all been waiting for has indeed arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, the radio, TV, and now podcast sensation, the sexy Jean-Jacques Taylor.
What up, dog?
It's me, the non-sexy one. It's Matt McLaren. And this is Jam Session, the podcast, version 9, asking simply that you prepare to be dazzled,
if not entertained.
We've got a really fun podcast episode planned for you guys today. Excited to have everybody here. Thanks for making a point to find us. Don't forget, as always, we're on Twitter at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist. We're going to have some fun with you today. Got some really fun conversations to have, but of course, in a condensed week for the Cowboys, it's somewhat of a condensed week for us as well. But we are going to start you off here on this version with the 4 plays that changed the outcome of the Cowboys game that perhaps you forgot about. Now, at the time, maybe you didn't realize the weight that they would end up carrying, whether they extended or killed drives or led directly to scoring plays or whatever the case may be. But we do have those here for you today. And so we are going to start you off right there in the first quarter. There's 2 minutes and 27 seconds left. There is no score. Currently, 3rd and 10 at the Arizona 46. Now, this is right after the drive, right after the Cowboys fumble. So they've got it. And here's, I think this is interesting. We'll get into this after the play. Let's just get to the play. 3rd and 10 from the Arizona 46. Again, Arizona trying to capitalize on the Cowboys turnover.
Trying to make some moves, and he just gets to the sticks. See where they spot him. Yes, they're going to give it to him. Wow.
See, this is where you can't game plan for this kind of athleticism. You can't game plan for a guy who can just take off when everything looks covered up down the field and he can't find anybody. You have to give him credit. Look how calm he still remains in the pocket. Everybody's covered. Now, look, I'm just going to put a move on you in open field, Jalen Smith, and I'm going to turn on the Jets, dive and stretch for the first down.
Jalen Smith had him as a spy. I mean, he was looking right at him and couldn't get him down.
Yeah, that's true.
No, dude, you know what's interesting about this? And I can't remember. One Cowboys defensive coach told me this, and seems like it was somebody like Todd Bowles, now the defense coordinator with Tampa Bay, was the head coach at Jets for a while.
Yeah.
And I remember, I believe it was Todd, and we were talking one day about spying and this and that. He said the problem with the spy game, he said spies works great. He said, but your spy has to be just as good an athlete as the guy that you're spying. Otherwise, you just took a defender out of, you just wasted a defender.
Right.
And so if you think about it, in that scenario, it's like your spy almost needs to be a DB or a safety, because there's no way in the world Jalen Smith's got anything to do with Tyler, whatever his name is.
Kyler Murray, yeah.
Kyler Murray in the open field.
Yeah, that was one. And this is, everybody wants to point and go, well, yeah, but look what the offense is doing. I mean, the defense had them at 3rd and 10 on their side of the field. I know that the Cowboys turned it over, and that's unfortunate. But again, to me, sometimes when can the defense make a play for you to help you out a little bit, to help an offense that makes some mistakes? And they couldn't do it there.
No, and that was the start of the blowout, just like that. But see, I keep telling you, man, this defense was never, ever going to be good this year.
Right.
Unless they followed the formula, which was play from ahead. Not even play from a tie, but play from ahead. Because anything other than that, all their flaws get exposed.
So we'll move to our second play here in 4 plays that completely changed the outcome of the Cowboys' loss, the blowout loss to the Cardinals on Monday Night Football. And we'll go to the second quarter here. 11 minutes and 26 seconds left in the first half. The Cowboys at this point are down 7-0. It is 3rd and 11 for Arizona. They've got the ball at the Dallas 28. Here's what happens.
You're inside the 30-yard line. I would anticipate you don't have to get all 10 yards here, Leaves, because you got 4 down territory. You proved that last drive.
One to snap it, get it away. Here's 3rd and 11. Murray near the sticks. It's Larry Fitzgerald trying to reach across. Looks like the spot is really close. They're going to move the sticks. You think Larry Fitzgerald's not getting that call?
Wow. Soft coverage from the Cowboys. Just gave it to Larry Fitzgerald. There's no reason to be so soft on him. He's not the kind of player that's going to run by you. You got to be up close to him on 3rd downs.
Gain of 11 for Fitzgerald. That's one of the longest catches for him this season.
That was a big one.
Oh, my God.
How crazy
11
is that?
yards. That's one of the longest catches for him this season. Oh, my God.
On a 3rd down, it's 3rd and 11, and he gets the exact 11. And, Brian Griese, I thought this was maybe one of the better comments that he had made the entire night, talking about what in the world is Anthony Brown doing? Why are you playing 3 yards off the dude so that when he catches it at the 11-yard stick, you that's where you stop him at? It made no sense to me. Very strange choice of coverage by Anthony Brown or the Cowboys, whoever had him in that.
Well, see, that's when you talk about focus, that's what focus is. Focus is understanding down and distance, is understanding all these things so that you can put them all to work for you so you can be, as Jason Garrett would say, the best version of yourself. Instead, basically all Larry Fitzgerald did was run and turn around and catch the ball. It wasn't contested at all.
Yeah, and you can't allow that to happen. So again, it's another example of the defense having a chance to make a play. I mean, that's what you're trying to do to the opposing offense, is put them in 3rd and long situations.
Right.
They had them in a 3rd and long situation. I mean, yeah, they probably get a field goal out of it, but a field goal would have been better. 10-0 looks a lot better than all of a sudden, great, 1st down conversion, let's go score a touchdown, it's 14-0.
Not only does it look a lot better, it feels a lot better. You don't feel like, well, damn, we're about to get blown out when it's 10-0. 10-0 is with a touchdown, we're back in the game.
So those are the first 2 plays. And again, we're going through the 4 plays that change the outcome of the Cardinals' win over the Cowboys. Perhaps some of these you had forgotten about. So we get to our 3rd play, and we're still in the first half. And obviously, in a lot of blowout losses, by the time you get to the 4th quarter, the plays are just like, whatever. But this one actually does matter. And this is the 2nd quarter. There's 5 minutes, 34 seconds left in the half. The Cardinals are up 14-0. And this is the Cowboys driving. They actually have a chance perhaps to get some points here. It's 3rd and 7 for Dallas. They are on the Arizona 35-yard line. Here's how the play unfolds.
Gets it out to the far side, Amari Cooper, and a flag comes in. First catch on the first target to Amari Cooper.
It's a great play by Byron Murphy, the nickelback, reading that, understanding leverage, setting the edge on the outside, and may got a block in the back on him, but great effort from Byron Murphy.
Illegal block in the back. Offense, number 88, 10-yard penalty, replay 3rd down.
It's a good audible here against pressure. Get the ball in one of your best players' hands, Amari Cooper, and that's Murphy. That's just effort forcing a penalty. And an interesting decision to take that penalty and move him back. The reason you do that if you're Mike McCarthy, obviously you give him another chance on 3rd down, but potentially take him out of field goal range.
Now, of course, he meant the reason why you do that if you're Cliff Kingsbury, who is the one, because that is a really interesting decision there. The Cowboys, it was no gain, as you heard. So it would have been 4th and 7 from the 35. But by accepting that penalty on the block in the back, he's exactly right. That's what happened. They then went back to their own 45. They did whatever that crap play was, the next one. So then it's 4th and 17 from the 45. No field goal attempt. You got to punt.
Bigger issue, man. Complete, total lack of respect for Andy Dalton and Cowboys passing game.
Yeah.
Because, and here's what I mean. Dak Prescott had a league, after 5 games, he had a league leading 25 plays and passes of 25 yards or more. He was a guy you would never give a second chance to. CeeDee Lamb run down the seam, catch 1st down, you look all stupid in the post-game media conference. but instead, they're like Andy Dalton. He only averaged 4.9 yards an attempt. He can't get it there. They can't block us. They can't protect us. Let's not give them anything. Let's take this field goal away.
Yeah, and they did. They did do that. So the Cowboys had the punt. Of course, no points on that one. So now we get through halftime. We all know the deal. It's 21-3. Nobody is feeling good. You're down by a massive score again at home. against the 3-2 Arizona Cardinals. And our final play here in 4 plays to change the outcome of the Cardinals' win over the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. We go to the early in the third quarter. 12 minutes and 32 seconds left in the third quarter. Like I said, 21-3. It's 3rd and 6 for Dallas at the Arizona 42. Once again, maybe they're driving. Maybe they'll get a touchdown. Maybe it'll be 21-10. Not so fast.
Here's Dalton. Put some air underneath it, and it's intercepted. CeeDee Lamb went down, and Drake Kirkpatrick comes up with a football for Arizona.
I'm surprised.
And the second half starts the way the first half finished.
Surprised there wasn't a flag. There was a lot of contact down the field. The CeeDee Lamb's trying to run the corner route. You see him right here at the line of scrimmage. He wins at the line. You're going to see him trying to run that corner route. A lot of contact right there with Drake Kirkpatrick. Cardinals come up with another big play. Turnover for Dallas.
Greasy and Riddick, the guys talking with Steve Levy there, they're right. That was pass interference. The problem is it wasn't called. It then became an easy interception for Drake Kirkpatrick. And the reason why we chose that play is because that was the moment in the game that this team decided to mail it in.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, they went right down the field with Kenyon Drake running after that. I mean, it's just the resistance. I mean, there was no resistance.
There was none.
I mean, they just, I often make sure that I don't say quit because I think that's a strong thing. A lot of times quit, man, is more about mental than physical. It's just about you don't want to be out there. You're feeling sorry for yourself because you're getting your butts kicked.
Right.
And mentally, you just give in. The other team feels it. They surge. You don't respond to the surge because you've mentally given in, and it looks like it looked last night.
Yeah, it really did. And it just seemed to be one of those situations of, man, we just can't catch a break. Like nothing is going our way in this game. Great, another turnover. And as you mentioned, that was the drive. Once they turned that over, and again, I get it. It's turnovers. You don't want the offense to do that. But this was not a turnover inside Dallas territory. Arizona, Kirkpatrick intercepted that at their own 21. And then the Dallas defense came on the field, and instead of saying, hey, guys, we got you on this, the refs screwed us, the Dallas defense said, hey, Kenyon Drake, you want to score? Here you go.
How bad do you want to score, dog? Just lower your head and go get it.
Yeah, and I think it was a 20 and then a 22-yard and then a 9-yard gain back to back to back, and all of a sudden they're inside the Dallas 10, and they're about to blow this thing open at 28-3, game over.
Pretty much. But, I mean, let's be honest, man. The game was over at 21-0.
Game was over for me at 14-0.
14-0, I thought they still had a shot. 21-0, that thing was a wrap.
I was like, man, you're down by double digits again, at home again.
See, that's what we're talking about. It's the mental beatdown that just takes the will to compete away from you. Ooh.
It's tough, man. I mean, think about 3 weeks ago, we're sitting here and we're having the conversation. All right, we're going to learn a lot about this team in the next 3 weeks. They got 3 consecutive home games. These are 3 winnable games against these 3 teams. And what do? They got their ass kicked by Cleveland. They needed a miracle to beat the Giants, and they got their ass kicked by Arizona.
And so we did learn a lot about them. We learned that they're not a good team.
It's true. We can now accept it.
I'm not even taking shots. It
is what it is. Accept the reality. This is a bad Cowboys team, and that right there was the 4 plays. Perhaps you remember some of those, perhaps you don't, that changed the outcome of this Cowboys blowout loss to the Cardinals on Monday Night Football. As we continue here with you on the podcast, it's Matt McLaren, it's Jean-Jacques Taylor. Glad to have you guys with us. And of course, we do want to take a moment to thank our sponsor. We've actually got a couple others that'll be coming on board this week, but our very first sponsor contributing to the show, really appreciate it. I had an opportunity over the weekend to grab the wings at Kroger. And I tell you, man, I've actually had a couple of people who reached out and said, yeah, I went and got some too, and you're not kidding. Those mango habanero wings are badass. I'm telling you. They are not breaded. It is just meat and flavor, and they are available at all North Texas Kroger locations. So wherever you're listening to this around North Texas, you just walk back to where you get like steaks and stuff at the meat counter. You look at the wings in the window, you order a pound or 2, and you're good to go. The mango habanero is by far my favorite. They also have the buffalo blue cheese, but you can check those out and buy them today. Grill them out, cook them, air fry them, whatever it is you do. Those wings at Kroger are right there for you. The mango habanero, man, I'm telling you, the way to go. But we continue with you here on the podcast. We keep talking little Cowboys. We're going to take our trip around the block here coming up shortly. But, the Cowboys spoke after the loss last night. And we're going to hear some things that Zeke had to say, some things that Mike McCarthy had to say. But I figure we'll start with Ezekiel Elliott because we had a conversation about him on the podcast we recorded immediately after the game. This is a guy that historically does not fumble the football and somehow so far this season has 4 fumbles on the year. And for the first time, I believe, as you were pointing out, in his football life, he had 2 fumbles in the same game.
Lost 2 in the same game. So, I mean, I think it's clear. I don't think I'm out of line. I don't think I'm going all Dr. Phil. It's in his head now.
It's got to be.
And the only way you can get it out of your head, and I'm being serious here, is you have to be mentally tough and just work through it. And we just saw an example last week. Jose Altuve. He had the yips for like 3 games.
Yeah, but we liked that example.
Yeah,
that was great.
That. But the point being, he did figure out in the midst of the series how to work through it.
Yeah.
Because you just have to work through it. I mean, it takes a tremendous amount of concentration and focus, and then you can get back to playing free and easy. But until then, man, you have to spend valuable thought process. Protect the ball, protect the ball, protect the ball. High and tight, high and tight, high and tight. 5-point pressure, 5-point pressure, 5-point pressure. I mean, you just have to do it.
Yeah. Well, he hadn't been doing that, and he had some things to say after the loss on Monday night. And, really, look, he gets it. As he admits here, he understands the situation.
Honestly, I don't think it really was much of what they did. I think it was me. I'm supposed to be a guy this team can rely on. I'm supposed to be a guy that this team can lean on when times get rough, and I just wasn't that today. I got us started off to a terrible start. The defense they were playing well, but I killed our momentum. 2 fumbles. I can't do that. I can't.
I gotta tell you, he's a very prideful player. That's why we spend so much time talking about his blocking and blitz pickups and everything.
Yeah.
He understands what's up, man. But I got to tell you, as much as I like Zeke, and y'all know as a Buckeye, I'm a Zeke guy, man. And we have a really good working relationship. But if you want your players to take you seriously, especially in a game, see, you can really do it in a game like last night where it's kind of a lost cause at a certain point. You just tell them, you take a quarter or you take a significant period of time to remember just how valuable the ball is to you. Instead, he took 8 plays. I mean, it was whatever, dog. I mean, 8 plays. And, hey, my kid was doing bad in school. Really bad. Like, so bad I had to go, really? Is that really a grade? And so,
right?
At that point, I said, hey, give me your phone and don't ask me when you're getting it back.
Yeah.
That's not like, hey, I'm going to take your phone for the next 4 hours. You've learned your lesson now. And it's not, see, I like to say this, man. A lot of times it's not, to me, it's not punitive per se. It ends up being punitive, but it's not. It's so that you really understand that there's consequences to the decisions that you make. So if you don't focus and hold on to the ball, as much as I love you, my son, you know what I'm talking about, you're going to be punished. And the punishment is you don't get to go outside and play because you can't take care of the ball. I mean, it's like, and I know a lot of kids in Texas have done this, and maybe, Matt, you've done this, where it's an October day. See, that's why it rings true. When you left the house this morning, it's 50 degrees. It's cold.
Yeah.
You took your jacket.
Yep.
When you came home from school, back in the day when you could walk home without fear of being abducted.
Right. Thrown into a river.
Right. It was 75 degrees.
Yeah.
You ain't thinking about that jacket. Next morning, your mama say, where your jacket at, boy?
Every kid's done that multiple
you just
times.
Gonna be cold this morning.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll help you remember to bring your jacket home.
For sure. My son used to do that all the time.
You shiver at the bus stop or during your walk to school and you're sad. But the next, and maybe you forget a couple more times. But at some point you go, oh, I don't want to be cold in the morning. Let me go get my jacket out of my locker.
Yeah, unless your kid is the one that's creative enough to go, well, that's okay. My superpower is not being cold. And you go, really? He goes, yeah, I'm not cold. I go, huh, all right. How you get around that one?
Yes.
Fair enough.
Let's stand you in the freezer for a little bit, young man.
But, Zeke also, and it's not that he says he's lost here, but his response to why is this happening? What do you think is the problem here? I thought was interesting just at his loss of words almost to inexplicably figure out what's going on.
Honestly, I can't really even, I don't know why. I just got to focus up. I got to be better with it.
I mean, he's just sitting there. I don't know why. And that's got to be the most frustrating thing for him. Like you pointed out, I mean, this dude doesn't fumble. This isn't a problem for him. And you're sitting there going, why the hell is this happening to me now?
I mean, he really never fumbled at Ohio State. But since he's been in the NFL until this year, he was fumbling once every 76 touches, 18 and 1,300 and something touches. Well, now he's fumbled 5 times and 133 touches. So clearly, that's why I say it's a mental thing, because clearly he's never been a fumbler. I mean, this ain't like somebody like Eric Dickerson, who was a fumbler his whole career. Even Barry Sanders was a fumbler. You're going to accept my greatness.
Right.
And my one weakness, Superman had kryptonite, I'm going to put the ball on the ground a few times a year. This ain't Zeke. That's the last thing he does. He's actually the consummate football player. He does everything in addition to running the ball.
And then Zeke ended with a little bit of acknowledgement that, you know what, at some point, and that point is probably right now, this guy, you got to figure this out.
I mean, one, I'm giving the ball away. I wasn't helping the team, and I think they did the right thing and, gave some of those reps to TP. But, I can't do that. I have to be a guy this team can lean on, especially in the times right now, with so many of our starters hurt and not playing. So it's not acceptable, and I need to figure it out.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting because we kind of talked about that immediately after the game on Monday, that in a situation like this, when you look at the offensive line is in shambles, when you've got your backup quarterback in there, Zeke is the guy. You're the guy. This is your responsibility. You're going to have to carry this team right now. And I thought it was interesting. He realizes that, recognizes it.
Oh, well, I'm not just cutting for him. He's a prideful guy.
Yeah.
He wants to excel. He wants to be a great player. And so, I've told you this many times, and some of you guys have heard me say this when I was on the other platform. And if you're new to the podcast, you'll hear it now, and then you'll hear it some other times. One of the reasons I was a badass beat reporter and a badass columnist is because I could ask guys questions like this about fumbles and stuff like that. And here's one of the things, though. Players, and you heard it in Zeke's voice, they know when they haven't been playing well.
It's true.
I mean, it's not like it's a big secret.
Yeah.
And so if you go to them and have a conversation and ask them some questions, like you've never been a fumbler, have you gone through your routine to see what's different?
Yeah.
Then they'll give you answers, and like whoever asks those questions, they'll give you answers because they know. 99% of the athletes understand that they hold themselves to a much higher standard than you could ever hold them to. And they often tell you that. Now, there's a couple that don't, and we don't really care about them. But the ones that do, it hurts when they don't play well, man. It hurts. Like, you think Zeke slept last night? Zeke knows. Everybody hurt. I'm the guy. And I basically lost the game because we're down 14-0.
Yeah.
And we can't function.
So we move on from the comments of Zeke Elliott to some of the comments that the head coach had. And I know a lot of you are interested in hearing what he had to say. And again, thanks to DallasCowboys.com, that's where pretty much all the audio of the postgame is now. And that's how they're doing these postgames. The reporters are sitting there on a Zoom call, and the players approach the podium, and they have to wait for the next Zoom box to light up or whatever to answer the question. But Mike McCarthy had some interesting things to say after the game, and he gets it. He understands the situation and really spoke about the turnovers and how ridiculous this is starting to become.
Frankly, until we get off this turnover ratio, -12 for the year, we're not playing well enough as a football team to overcome those critical errors. It happened again tonight. I thought the defense came out strong, with the 3 stops there in the first quarter, and I think the turnovers definitely changed the game. Clearly, we didn't handle the adversity of the 4 turnovers. We're giving up. I think it was about 24 points off of turnovers tonight. We're the worst in the league taking care of the football. We're not taking it away, and we're giving up more points than anybody in the league off of turnovers. It's frustrating to see the pattern here. 5 of the 6 games this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything he says, and that's what makes this so crazy. Is he sits there and what's he supposed to do? Scream and break the microphone and flip something over? But it's just so matter of fact. Where it's almost like how Zeke was describing his fumbling. Like McCarthy's looking at this, going, "Man, like what the hell is this? What is this?"
I don't think anybody's got any answers. I mean, I will steal a Bill Parcells line from this. It's not like he's coaching them to fumble. He's coaching them to commit turnover.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like, come on, guys, turn it over. Let's see if we can get a stop if we turn it over.
Parcells once said, "I don't coach penalties."
Right.
So we get that. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for your household. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it falls under your auspices. You got to figure out a way to get this whole thing fixed. Because right now, it's a poop show, man. It's been a poop show pretty much all season. Matter of fact, the Rams game is the only game that didn't feel like a poop show because we've been able to compare it to these last 5 games.
Yeah, no doubt.
But at the time it happened, it felt like a poop show.
Right.
So they have yet to play a good, clean football game. Don't forget, their 2 wins over 1-5 Atlanta, 1-5 the Giants, and they needed miracles to win both of those.
So McCarthy would also discuss here in his post-game comments from the Monday Night Football loss, and this is something that a few of you brought up, that they just got to continue to work at this in a sense.
We got to continue to work at it. As I continue to learn this team, I felt like the preparation coming into the game was probably our best so far this year. Obviously, that doesn't account for anything, particularly after a performance like tonight. So I thought those are really the big changes in the game. We didn't handle it. We didn't make big plays. We need to get that turn. We got to do it quickly because obviously we're in Washington here in 6 days.
And his comment right there at the beginning is that we got to continue to work as I continue to learn this team. And a few of you on Twitter, and one of you, a guy named Dennis, and you've mentioned that a couple of times of, well, no preseason practices like normal, and, let's give them some time and see what they could do with a thing. That's really the problem. I said, maybe there's some truth to that, but then I look around the league and I say, if that's the case, and that's why the defense is playing this way and the offense is turning it over so much, why isn't Cleveland 31st in the league in defense, and why hasn't Cleveland turned it over 15 times? Or Carolina, or Washington, or the Giants, who do not have good teams. Why are they not colossally turning it over and giving up gobs of points?
I think it's it's clearly a multiple things. I think the biggest thing with McCarthy, man, is he's just not made enough difference-making plays as a coach.
At all.
And obviously I don't mean plays, but you tell me which decision, which strategic point do you give McCarthy credit for? And you go, yeah. I'm sure there's something during the first 6 games, but you'd be hard-pressed to find it, man. And you don't really get a lot of credit, for benching Steele the one game because he should have never started Steele.
Yeah. Because apparently he had food poisoning.
Right. So you don't get credit when you try to clean up a mistake from the start. So, my problem is McCarthy is not. I thought, and see, this is your boy now. I tell you, it's me, your boy. I thought McCarthy would make a difference on game day in a positive way. I'm for real.
Maybe not.
And he hasn't.
Yeah, it's been rough, man. It's been rough, and the problem is that at some point you're 6 weeks into this thing. So it's interesting how a few of you just seem to be like, well, they didn't get the offseason and things didn't. Okay, so what? Did you just throw the season away? I mean, at this point, it does feel like a throwaway season. But that wasn't the mentality coming in. And now, to me, there are no excuses. And I get the injuries have piled up, and it's if you had started the season and Dak was never a guy and it was Andy Dalton with this offensive line, I think our expectations would have been different. Like you always say, sports is fluid. The expectations have massively adjusted. This is not a good team.
Right.
And so, yeah, my expectations now are that they will have a losing season and Mike McCarthy is going to log in like a 6-10 year, just based on the fluidity of the season and what has happened.
Right.
But the coaching, there is a disconnect. There is. And I don't know if it's with McCarthy or Nolan or what the problem is. something that they are teaching them or coaching them and the way that they are bringing it to the players is not clicking. If it was, we would see some sense of a change within a 6-game period, and there hadn't been.
No, I think you're right on that. I don't have all the answers, and frankly, Matt, they don't pay me enough to get these answers. I need like 1.5 to get some answers. That's on the real, man.
I'll take the 0.5.
So they're not giving it, and so I'm sure Mike McCarthy is frustrated. I'm sure this is not what he expected from his first season in Dallas. But I got to tell you, man, the thing I'm most fascinated about is the thing I can't get right now. It's the white whale for me. For you, it's
Pliny the Younger.
Piney the Younger. For me, the white whale, man, is a Jerry post-game interview.
Yeah, and they're not happening right now. Steven's up in the box trying to kill his dad with his mask down around his neck. I was like, Steven, what are you doing, man? Your dad's like 100 years old.
Dude, I just shake my head, man.
Yeah, it's tough.
I didn't see this one coming, but I see where it's going.
Yeah, McCarthy didn't see it coming either. And as we wrap this up, listening to some of his comments after the game, it feels like this is the 6th game he's kind of admitted this.
I think we all understand what the score is. We didn't play very well on offense, defense, or special teams, and most importantly, I didn't coach very well. I have a continuing issue with ball security on my football team. Something I personally take a lot of pride in how it reflects how you play the game of football, and I'm not getting that done right now.
No, you're not. You're not at all. And that's got to be like we talked about with Zeke, with McCarthy, with the coaches, the perplexion of how in the world is this happening? But it does. It feels like that's the 6th game out of 6, even in the wins, where he goes, I didn't coach very well.
Well, when are you going to coach well?
Because that's what you were hired to do. And that's the thing is, like, honestly, like the way that we have seen this staff, to me, this is what I would have expected. Like if you had gone out and got a Lincoln Riley or somebody, because you expect growing pains, you expect it to take a while to click and him to figure things out. McCarthy is trying to do that as a dude who's coached in the NFL for years and has had success. And it's like he's trying to figure out his way, regardless of not having a preseason. I don't care, man. You were hired to win now, and you're not.
No, I think in this respect, that's a fair deal. Nothing, man. I tend to think Mike Nolan's a problem. I tend to think John Fossil's a problem. Something we haven't talked about very much, and this is because you don't have the kind of access we're used to having. They got Al Washington and Linguist coaching their, Maurice Linguist coaching their DBs. One is up from college and one ain't never really been coaching. Now, is that part of the problem? I can't see it being part of the solution.
Yeah, and then you look at a guy in Mike Nolan that you decided to make your defensive coordinator that hadn't been in a defensive coordinator in a couple of years. He'd been coaching linebackers as a position coach.
That's the problem with nepotism.
Yeah, and then Mike McCarthy's like, oh, you're my buddy. You hired me in San Francisco. Oh, by the way, for a team that also wasn't any good.
Nah, see, I have a problem with that, man, because, and I think I've told y'all this before, and if not, this will be a new story for you.
Yay, story time.
And I'll actually use his name because now he's a very successful guy. I was at the Morning News as a columnist. My man, you know him well, Calvin Watkins, was covering the SMU beat. And he said, hey, no, he's covering the high school beat. He was trying to get on SMU. He said, hey, the SMU beat's open. Go tell him I need it cut for me. Give me. I said, dog, you ain't ready for that. What are you talking about? I'm not ready for that. And he cussed me out. I said, dude, you can't do A, B, C, D, and E. Well, then he cussed me out again. And I said, tell you what, dog, if that's the way you want to go, let's put this next year at high schools. I said, I'll tell you exactly what I did when I was on high schools. I went in because we had a staff of about 4, and I was the lead high school writer.
Yeah. I
went and told everybody else, I'm going to let y'all do some of these big pieces on Tuesday that the league guy usually did all the time. I said, but every night, I said, I'm going to let y'all do them, and nobody's ever let y'all do them before. But I'm going to just pick and choose the ones I want to do. And I would plan them out 2 or 3 weeks in advance, and I'd slay them. And then I got people's attention, and boom, I'm on the Cowboys. So I told him, I said, hey, let's create a plan. Let's do this, focus on this, write these types of stories, do that, do this, do that, spend the next year doing that, focus on this.
Yeah.
He's on SMU the next year. Then what happens? What happens is they say, hey, he's on SMU for a year, he's killing it, because I knew he would, because he was ready. Maybe he does it 2 years. Then they say, hey, T.O.'s in training camp. We need an extra person to go. Jacques, you're the number one beat writer. Who do you want to go with you? Bring me Calvin. I said, why Calvin? Because he ain't scared. And I know he knows I do everything I want done.
Yeah.
Boom. He's out there, breaks the story the first day he's out there. First day he's out there, he breaks the story. And the whole point of this is he was ready. He was ready. Everybody ain't ready. So, and the point of it is also, he was my boy. But what did I tell him the first time he had something? You ain't ready, dog. You're not going to make me look bad because you ain't ready. I've helped a lot of people get jobs. I've also told a lot of people, nah, bruh. Not on my watch, dog.
That's
not right now.
Yeah.
You ain't ready right now.
Right.
You gonna make me look bad, you gonna make you look bad, and it ain't never gonna work. So maybe Mike McCarthy should have looked at Mike Nolan and said, dog, you hooked me up. But your defense is trash right now. And you ain't been good in a minute. So why don't I bring you on as some kind of defensive assistant, something? Kind of like they gave George Edwards.
Something.
Some kind of defensive consultant title. Because your brain is great. And I think you know a lot of things. Nah, I just said that was an easy conversation. And maybe Mike Nolan says, hey, man, I hooked you up, dog. Help a brother out, man. Come on. I'm tired of being a position coach. I want that DC next to my name. I want that little fat raise. I don't know. But, hey, I do know this. You can't bring all your friends with you all the time.
No, you got to have somebody that's got a completely different mindset somewhere along the way.
And your friends got to be able to tell you when you're full of poop.
Yeah, and if you can't do that, then you're not really friends to begin with.
There you go.
I mean, because this is getting to a point where it's ridiculous defensively. And I don't know, here we are, what is it, Tuesday? They haven't announced any changes right now.
And they're not, because Jerry was on the radio this morning, the flagship station, talking about, I'm okay with Nolan. What I would love to hear is the fly on the wall conversation.
That's such bullshit. You're not okay with, if you're okay with this and everything we talked about in our last podcast, again, you asked me, you go, why do you think that's true? Because of that, comments like that. Because if I own this team, now granted, as a passionate owner, I'd be very passionate. But Jerry's passionate. I would say, look, this is unacceptable. I think the guy knows that. I'm not saying anything he doesn't understand, but I wouldn't try to paint some cherries over it and be like, oh, we're fine with Nolan. No, you're not. You're not fine with Nolan.
You're not. You couldn't possibly be, because this is bad, man.
See, if I was doing that interview, like, what is it about Nolan that you're okay with? Because you got to be kidding me. You're okay with being dead last in the NFL in a variety of categories?
See, Matt, you're supposed to just leave it at, why are you okay with Nolan? And then you let them go.
Well, yes. But he's not here to ask that question to. But yeah, man, it's a very strange, no one saw, or I love the people on Twitter. Like, I told you guys like 3 weeks ago about how this was going down. No, you didn't. Nobody did.
Stop.
And if you did, then you can screenshot your tweet and send it to me.
Now that
and maybe I didn't see it. That happened.
That I will accept.
On the podcast, we like to take the daily trip. Well, maybe not daily, but the episodically.
The regular trip.
The regular trip around the block, however you want to discuss that. Local guys talking about local things.
It's one of our favorite things to do.
It is one of our favorite things to do. And there's good news. I've never been to this place. I've heard a gazillion things about it, all positive. And as we sit here, this opens on Thursday.
Yeah, baby, I'm going.
October 22nd, Heim Barbecue is coming to Dallas.
Yeah.
Now they have 2 locations in Fort Worth that are just uber popular. And they bought an old cafe right there by Love Field Airport off Mockingbird. And it opens on Thursday, man. Heim Barbecue.
Okay, now, check this out.
Heim.
I don't know if I'm going Thursday, because it's probably long lines. I ain't really trying to do
Thursday will be tough to swing.
Matter of fact, what the real player move is go to the Fort Worth office on Thursday.
When there's nobody there.
While everybody's hyped, but it's just regular business over there.
Maybe.
That's the real player move. Now, I'm not going to. Okay, let me say it like this. I'm trying to do better by not naming certain establishments. I think I got fussed at the other day for doing this. But there's a local. When I say local, much like Heim, it's a small chain, but it's a local chain.
Okay.
They came over to my neck of the woods, and I was hyped, much like I'm hyped about Heim. And I ran over there, and I tasted it, and I was like, I mean, it's all right. It's not nasty by any stretch.
Yeah.
But I could rattle off like 12 places better.
Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah. So everything, and these people really enjoyed this place. I'll tell you what it is later. But and so I went back about 2 or 3 different times and tried 2 or 3 different things. And again, it's not bad, but I really, the way Matt enjoys beer, I enjoy barbecue. Like, I want to taste it and be like, I don't know if I can tell you this is pine or this is oak or this is cherry wood.
Yeah, like Terry Black's when we went there, I thought that was really, really good barbecue. Right. Or Cadillac that we had, that was really, really good.
It's just fantastic. Yeah. And you're like, wow, you did this with a piece of meat. Man, you a bad man.
And that's everything you hear about Heim.
I want to try the bacon burnt ends. I don't even know what that is.
I don't either, but people tell you, everybody goes, oh, have you had Heim? No, you've got to have Heim. Like, it's up there as one of those
like
great.
Terry Black or some other place.
Yeah, it's supposed to be one of those great, unbelievable places that's out there. And now it's available in Dallas. And I mean, Love Field, I can get to Love Field in less than 15 minutes.
I'm going to get there. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to trying it, and I am hoping like hell that it is everything it's supposed to be, and I believe it will be. But I still want to make a trip to Fort Worth because I want to go by Panther Barbecue, which I heard is fantastic.
We should go out there one day. We'll have to schedule a brewery to sit down with in Fort Worth and do it out there.
I mean, we're our own bosses, Matt. I mean,
we can do whatever we want.
How about this? Oh yeah, just pick a day.
Yeah, that's true. I can probably get us into Martin House. I'll have to text my buddy that works over there. In the
I can see it right
side.
now. 3. You know what? We're booked for the next 2 weeks.
We are.
How about that?
Yeah.
I mean, like, we got appointments and stuff. We booked.
That's very true.
But maybe 3 weeks from now we can roll out there.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Heims, it's the couple's name, right? It's Travis and Emma Heim, and they started smoking briskets in a barbecue trailer just 5 years ago. And within 5 years, they've opened 3 restaurants. They've been named one of the top 50 barbecue joints by Texas Monthly, and they now even sell their barbecue sauce at Buc-ee's.
Now, wow.
In 5 years.
Dude, when you hit it, much like we hit with the Jam Session podcast,
yeah,
I promise you, dog, it don't take long. It's like my friend Carlton Dixon, who opened his suit company. He did it 5 years ago. Custom suits, where you open up the jacket and the lining's got your university logo and stuff.
Smart.
Boom! 5 years, dog.
Genius.
Rolling.
Yeah.
So when you hit it right, it don't take long. And barbecue, man, when you hit it right, you hit it because check this out, dog. It's either good or it ain't. And if it's good, what happens? Hey, man, have you heard this place over here? Have you tried it out? It's fantastic. You need to go. Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
You know who I want to have on the show, man?
Heim
would be fine. For real. Heim would be fine. But what's his name? Like Daniel Vaughn, who's made a living of going around the state to every barbecue place. I think he writes for Texas Monthly. But
I know who you're talking about.
He's interesting to me about, like, just because you've created. And see, as businessmen now, because me and Matt are businessmen now, I love the fact that certain people find a niche, much like we've done with football and craft beer, and you just explore it and go as deep down that crevice as you can go.
Yeah, this is really interesting because apparently, and again, look, I've never been, but they say that they make sure that they don't sell out of meat and that the line doesn't get too long. They built a new smokehouse at this restaurant, and they have 2 pits that can smoke nearly 200 briskets if needed. And Emma Heim says a lot of people don't have 3 or 4 hours to stand in line for lunch.
You know?
And they say that unlike their competitors, Heim has a large and creative menu. They sell hamburgers, loaded potato skins, and even corn dogs. And I don't know if it's like this at the other locations, but because they're close to the medical district and they anticipate having people
from Parkland and UT Southwest,
they're doing breakfast tacos and making the tortillas in-house at Heim.
Now, see,
this feels like you have to go there, like a must.
Yeah. Like, see, I would do. See, y'all know my schedule. I get up every day at 5:05. Wow. I hit the gym by 5:30, and we're done at 6:45. At that time of morning, dog, I could zoom over to Heim and come back and be home by
easily.
Because the traffic's low. You zoom over there, you pick up what you need, you come back home. Surprise, perhaps, my kids with it.
I guarantee you I'll be over there because it's really close to Celestial. And On Rotation is opening that new brewery right there by Love Field as well. That's about to turn into a really cool area.
I don't know anything about On Rotation.
That's all right.
All right.
We might be able to get them on as well.
I'm sure they'll be.
I know those guys.
Anybody who's a brewery is going to be on the show at
at
some point
yeah.
because why not?
Yeah, we've got Odd Muse Brewing Company coming up. We've got Hop and Sting out in Grapevine, Three Nations in Carrollton. I mean, we're going to be talking to some breweries, man, really spreading the love of local beer. But Heim is cool, and again, that opens, it's Thursday, October 22nd. So depending on when you're listening to this, October 22nd is when they open. Now, elsewhere, I thought this was interesting because there is a new type of, I guess they're saying it's two new concepts, that combine Asian and Mexican flavors, and they're saying, are Japanese tacos the next big thing? And I was like, okay, this is interesting.
I'm not rocking no sushi taco, bro.
Now, I have not, this is really crazy because this article talks about Idoko Omakase, which is an upscale Japanese restaurant. It's right, we've been there. I went there with my lady friend it's brand new. It just opened during the pandemic, where a pizza place used to be right next to LA Fitness off MacArthur and 114.
That's literally right down.
Yeah, and we went right down there, and apparently, how did I not know this? They serve sushi tacos.
I just said I don't want no sushi taco. That don't even sound right.
Pink and white striped Scottish salmon, belly sashimi, Hawaiian big-eye tuna, freshwater eel, and a medley of vegetables such as microgreens and radishes served in taco. How did I not? These are Japanese tacos.
They got a menu price there?
No, it wasn't cheap when we went. I mean, it's really good sushi. I mean, it's above, I would put it like up there sushi wise.
All right, like Nobu sushi?
Not that high. It'd be
like steel?
I don't know what that is.
All right.
But this is like, whatever your bottom, there's like 3 levels of sushi. This would be for sure mid-level.
Top of the mid-level.
Yeah, top of the mid-level, but not on the level of a Nobu.
Okay.
But yeah, it was really good. That's interesting. Huh. I don't know that I've ever had a Japanese taco.
You want one?
Yes, I do now. I love tacos and I love sushi. But yeah, that seems like one of those things.
It seems like we need to, seems like we would be better served attacking the lunch menu. Where maybe it's not quite as pricey. And because so close to your house and you see what I just said, in our home studio here.
It's true. It is. The JJT.
I mean, y'all should
McLaren
you know what, man?
Studio.
You know what, man? I got an idea. You should give me a bed in Maddox's room. And you should give me like half the room. And that should be a prank on Maddox. Be like, hey, Jacques over here so much shooting the show, we decided to split your room with him.
The look on his face.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, what?
That man.
He's like, that's not true, Dad. I'm like, it is.
And I show up with like my suitcase and stuff in there. And I'd be like, hey, bud.
That'd be awesome.
Dude, that would be a good prank.
You know, I will say, when I went to the sushi place, Maddox was with us. And we had just picked him up and we were coming back home. We were like, I'm hungry. Let's stop here. And because of there's a Sonic, like probably the nicest Sonic ever, but it didn't cross my mind that walking in, because of where it is, it's not like a standalone. It's attached to like a State Farm insurance office or something.
Right.
And Spin Pizza was there before, and I'd been there. But when I walked in, I was like, oh no, we're way underdressed for this place. I was like, t-shirt and flip-flops, and they didn't care. And then some other people came in like that, but I was like, man, the feel of the place, I felt underdressed, even though.
And for Matt to feel underdressed, that's something.
Well, you know how it is. Sometimes you go in a restaurant, you're like, oh, okay, you're not supposed to wear flip-flops, a hat, and a t-shirt in here.
Right.
And that's kind of how I felt. Now, obviously, it ended up not being that way, but I don't know. It's that level of feel when you go inside. And they have it like the nice place where they make it in front of you, the nice sushi bar that you can sit at.
One of the things, I got to admit to you, really, one of the things that I'm what's the word I'm looking for? That I'm going to insist that we do, because we've talked about a bunch of stuff, but now we have time. Like, we're going to actually go out and explore some of these things and adventure them, and then come back and talk about them. Because I think that just
we can film that stuff too and put it up on our YouTube channel.
I just think it adds another element to the show that we couldn't do at the radio station, because the reality is you run out of time. But here you can actually plan it. Like, yo, let's go to lunch over there, record it, come back to the McLaren Taylor Studios. We should put that on the wall up there.
I like
and then, we should put the Jam Session logo right there.
We could. We got space for it.
Come back and then talk about it as part of a segment.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be cool.
So elsewhere here, as we take our trip around the block, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, NOAA, for those of you that don't know,
like me,
has released its long-range forecast for the upcoming winter season and what that means specifically for North Texas. And for those of you that love snow and cold winters, you're out of luck. Because La Nina is still ongoing in the southern half of the country, and they are expecting a warmer and drier winter for the winter outlook, which is from December through February of 2021.
Yes. Are they usually correct?
They say the forecasts are becoming more and more accurate every year, and we have a very good chance for warmer than normal temperatures that are extending through the area of North Texas, where the probability that it'll be warmer than normal is about 60% probability that we'll have a warmer winter than we're normally expected to have.
All right, I'm down with that because I don't like the cold, man.
Well, see, and that's fine with me, but again, if your normal temperature at DFW Airport for December is 57, for January it's 56, then that's what I want. I want to have highs in the 50s, not highs in the 60s and 70s in December. I hate it at Christmas when it's 70 degrees. That sucks.
Yeah, I've learned to live with it.
It's unfortunate, man. I would like to have a colder than normal winter. At some point, can we get some more? You know, that's what's so crazy about Super Bowl week when they had it here. Like, you could have picked any other year in the history of Texas and people would be here wearing shorts. And it just so happened the week of the game, we had a colossal snowfall that nobody had ever seen. Or I
was going to say, it ain't happened before and it ain't happened since.
It's like once in 100 years, and it just so happened. Amazing. And now they're like, oh, we can't have the Super Bowl in Dallas ever again.
I mean, dude, how stupid is that?
It's dumb. They could have it here. Have it this year, and it'd be great. And people are like, oh, this is weird. I didn't have to pack warm clothes. It's really unfortunate that happened that way and screwed up our shot at getting another one.
Seems like we should get one. The stadium's great. The city's great. Fort Worth is great. Dallas is great. I mean,
I don't understand it, man. It's really unfortunate, but we'll see. I'm bummed because I like wearing hoodies and stuff like that, but you know, I mean, it's still.
I had one on yesterday.
You had one on last week when we were at Beer Geeks.
Dude, it was cold.
It was chilly, but it wasn't hoodie cold.
Well, I had on what I prefer to wear. I had on yesterday, which is shorts, tennis shoes, and a hoodie. That, to me, is the perfect outfit. And I'm so glad that I taught my son to dress like that because that's what he wears.
With shorts and the hoodie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like if your main core is warm, then you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. So that's what's to expect. And that, my friends, wraps up another fantastic trip around the block. So we go from the block back to those Dallas Cowboys, that 2-4 NFC East leading team. It's so crazy to me. You can lead a division 6 weeks into the year with a 2-4 record.
It is what it is, man.
Like, they're going to have to end up breaking up the NFC East after this year. Like, no, this can't be a thing. But one of the things that's interesting that's creating a lot of problems for this, when you look at the guys who are getting paid the most, they are either not performing or they're not in the field to be able to perform.
That's the problem, man, because not every team is like this, but the Cowboys are a top-heavy team. You know, they got the second highest payroll in terms of cash spent. Mm-hmm. Only Houston has spent more cash on its collection of players this year. And so we decided to look because, and I think if you look at it this way, you know, your highest paid players, they have the most responsibility. They typically have the most pedigree. They're the guys you need to play the best if you're going to do whatever it is you're going to do this year. And so we looked at them, and we took a very unscientific approach. These are just the 10 guys who count the most against the salary cap.
Right.
So it's a very easy way to look at it, a clean way to look at it. And, like, let me just tell you the 10 first. It's Dak. Matter of fact, you can tell these guys because they really only need one name.
Well, and Dak counts more against the cap this year than any player in football.
Right. So there's Dak, Amari, Zeke, Tank, Tyrone Crawford, Jalen Smith, Zach Martin, Everson Griffin, Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins. Now, let me ask you, out of that list I just gave you, Dak, Amari, Zeke, Tank, Tyrone Crawford, Jalen, Zach Martin, Everson Griffin, Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins. Who's playing to their standard?
The only name that popped up to me was Zach Martin.
Yeah, as of today.
And you know what? Maybe Amari Cooper, but I'm still trying to figure out what his standard is.
Right. Like, I'd say Amari Cooper's been all right. He's been solid.
Right.
But I don't, but see, I
not $20 million solid.
Well, then he's not playing to a standard.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so if I tell you the 10 highest paid players on the team, and we sitting up here debating whether a guy is playing to a standard, then that means he ain't playing to a standard. Because we ain't got to debate if they are. Like, if Dak was healthy, we wouldn't have to say, hey, is Dak playing to a standard? Well, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He got too many turnovers, but that's a byproduct of a couple things, but everything else is off the charts. So that's kind of the cursory glance at how we did it. But just off the top, man, there are 10 names on that list. 3 of them are on IR. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing when you look at the guys who are on IR that are supposed to be amongst your highest paid, with Dak, obviously, as we just mentioned, and then Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins.
But if we go through this by the numbers, man, and that's what we're going to do. See, I did that. It starts all with Dak Prescott. He's having a sensational season. Individually, statistically, the team's not winning, but as long as Dak is there, for whatever reason, man, there's hope you can turn this thing around. Now, he counts $31 million against the cap. Dak, who has started every regular season game, every playoff game since he got in the league, I believe that was 72, 73 in a row. All of a sudden, he's not there. He takes his security blanket with him, so you no longer have that feeling of hope anytime you're in a game.
Right.
And it's only taken 4 quarters, man, but a lot of y'all, oh, yeah, Andy Dalton's good. Andy Dalton should be starting. Andy Dalton this, Andy Dalton that. I ain't heard none of y'all say that to this the day after the game.
No, nobody did. Everybody started to realize, okay, wow, this is going to be a problem. And it is. And there's a reason why we don't have to pay Dak. You could get anybody to go in there and do what he does. And you can't. And hopefully over the course of the next few games, you guys will start to have a better understanding of that. But this is a colossal problem. One of the things, you and I kind of did this a couple of years ago, I think it was, where we were trying to figure out, do the Cowboys have a problem with having this many highly paid guys? And so we went and I made this table out and I looked at all the different teams and their salary cap hits and all this. And I really found no correlation to poor teams as far as they've got 5 dudes making over $10 million and then however many between 5 and 10. But the one thing that teams that underperformed had in common was the amount of money that they had on injured reserve.
Yeah.
Because you can't overcome that. Like, if you've got a couple of dudes that you're paying high money to, as long as they're on the field, sucks that they're not, like Amari Cooper. Sucks that, man, $20 million for that? I don't know. But he's probably giving you $14 million worth.
Right.
So that's not that crazy. Dak's making 31 and change on the cap. He's giving you $0 worth. Now, that's not because of his play. He's hurt. But if you're on injured reserve, you're not getting any value whatsoever. Your value is 0. Same with Lyle Collins. Same with Tyron Smith. They're giving you $0 worth of performance because they're on IR and can't play. And the more money that you carry on IR, the bigger of a detriment that is to your team.
Oh, I mean, it's not even debatable. That's just what it is. And so you miss out a lot when your number one player, Dak Prescott, carrying that $31 million tag is out. We just talked about Amari. See, Amari's had a 100-yard game. Scored his first touchdown last night, a meaningless touchdown. But he's had some big plays. He's had some moments. And, well, see, I was going to say, and with Dak here, you knew he'd have some more during the season.
Right.
Part of the problem with Andy Dalton is, again, man, if you can't get the ball to your playmakers, then they're not playmakers. Did y'all follow that? Like, if the offensive line is shady and they can't block, and Andy Dalton doesn't have time to get the ball to the playmakers, then they're not playmakers. You know, as my man Henry David Thoreau said, if a tree falls in the middle of the woods, does anybody hear it? Or something like that.
Something.
You know what I'm saying?
Like
so if you got playmakers, you should just be impressed I brought up Thoreau. But if you got playmakers, But they ain't making plays because of things kind of beyond their control. Are they really playmakers? And the answer, I hate to tell y'all, is no.
No, and I think you can look at the list because even like you're kind of starting to do, you can take away the injured reserve guys. Okay. Well, then, like Tank's a great example of this. And I know he's hurt, and maybe he's only 70% of himself. The problem is you're getting paid for $20 million production, and you're not giving $20 million production. And we can all use injury as an excuse. That's great, but that's reality.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's not we're talking about, are you getting your money's worth from these guys?
And you're not.
And you're not. And much like, it ain't Dak's fault that he broke his ankle. It ain't Tank's fault that he got a sprained knee, and so he's, struggling to play. The only question we asked in this particular conversation is the team getting its money's worth? And the answer is no. Now, we got reasons why they ain't getting their money's worth. But the bottom line is you're not getting your money's worth.
This is interesting because I think if we asked the question, who are the 5 guys in this team that you feel like are ripping you off the most, that aren't giving you your money's worth the most? I don't know that I would have thought of Tyrone Crawford. But then I sit here and I look at this and I go, dude, you're making 9.1 against the cap this year. You may be the biggest offender of them all.
Yeah, but and I don't want to say but, because he had a game the other day where he did nothing. He made no plays. And I'm telling you, I'm reminded of a conversation. And see, I hate to moan and groan about this all the time, but damn it, it's true. When you don't have access to the locker room, you miss out on so many things. I distinctly remember having a conversation with Crawford. It wasn't last year, so it must have been 2 years ago, which means this is probably year 3, and it's so prophetic. And here's how the conversation went. It went at his locker, and we were talking about something. And he said, man, I probably got about 3 years left because Marinelli didn't run me into the ground. And he was laughing, but here we are 3 years later. What happened last year? He had those hip things, and he couldn't stay healthy. And so, I don't ever have to wonder whether Tyrone, bless you.
Yep, sorry.
I don't ever have to wonder. Keep that COVID over there now. I don't ever have to wonder whether Tyrone Crawford is trying to give you everything he's got, because he does. But here's the problem. If you don't have it to give, then it doesn't matter.
Okay, that's fine. That's great. But
it doesn't matter.
Your $9 million cap hit, if this is what you're giving us, that's not $9 million worth of give.
No.
And even if that's all you can give, still, it's like when you go to pay a credit card, you don't have the money to pay it. Here's my $50. Oh, great. You owe us $100.
No,
well, I don't have the $100. You still owe it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. And, that now see, when we had these conversations, that ain't Tyrone Crawford's fault. That's management's fault.
Yeah.
Management has to go. He had double hip surgery last year. Can we really count on him? Do we have to make that hard call and cut him? And management, especially around here, tends not to want to do that. The Cowboys, in general, tend to hold on to players too long. Des Bryant is one of the few in franchise history that they cut at the right time.
Yeah.
As painful as it was. And you see how it got? That's why you don't like to cut people like that. But most teams aren't structured like this, where the GM gets emotionally involved in the players, because he typically answers to a team owner. Here, the GM is the team owner, so when he gets emotionally invested, it is what it is.
Yeah, when you go down the list and you look at these guys, it's really interesting because the players that they have invested the most in, and it really even goes past the top 10. Outside of Zach Martin, like you said, Everson Griffin, who we were all excited about, that's who you wanted him to sign.
Absolutely.
I thought Everson Griffin coming in here with his ability to rush the passer for $6 million a year was a steal. And Everson Griffin has shown up maybe here or there, but he for the most part, he's kind of been just a guy.
And it always goes back to that original question. And what did I say many times? And I'm not saying I didn't think it was a good signing, because I did. Why is he out there, Matt? Why is he still out there unsigned? What don't we know about him? Why is he still on the streets if he's all of this?
Yeah.
Pass rush is hard to find. Why is he still out there? People worried about his mental condition? What are people worried about? Is it something physically? There's something? I don't know. But he's had moments, he's had flashes, but he ain't been no difference maker.
Yeah, it's a big problem when the guys that are making the most money on this roster are vastly underperforming for the most part. I mean, all these guys. You know, Jalen has had a nice couple of last games, I would say, but still for close to $8 million. I mean, are you getting an $8 million linebacker on the whole for 6 games?
No, he looked like one 2 weeks ago. And he was okay last night.
He was just okay. See, that's the problem with this. And, you know, I don't know what the answer is. I mean, Dontari Poe, for instance, who I think is like right there outside of the top 10, is making $4 million this year. And that's a dude, you could go get a guy off a practice squad to give you what Dontari Poe's giving you.
And he's giving you nothing. Nothing. Like, you know, who'd they play?
Cardinals?
Yeah, you know, I got old man brain.
I was like, when?
It's because I had a short night's sleep and I've been working all day.
Yeah, it's been rough.
Which
is
fun.
Good.
Oh, yeah. So I ain't complaining. But they ran the ball 35 times. They gained, even the Kenyon Drake run at the end, 270 yards. Dontari Poe played 26 snaps.
God.
He had no tackles, no assists, no impact. If you look at the stat sheet, you can't tell he played. That, my friends, is a problem.
It is a problem. And it's funny because even when you go further down the roster, I mean, again, the top 10 are easy. I mean, 9 out of the top 10, I think all of us would kind of look at. Some of them we'd probably find if they weren't even on the team anymore. But you look at this, and this is what's so crazy about this. Like a guy like Daryl Worley, he's making $3 million a year. And we've seen every time he's on it, it's like, I guess he's making $3 million a year because we see the back of his jersey so often that maybe people are like, I should buy that jersey. I see it enough.
I don't know. He's shaming Darren Wilson number.
I mean, holy cow, man. You know what's crazy is looking at the dudes on this team that are making over $2 million. The one that I feel like you're getting the best value and who's playing well above what you're paying him, and that's because you didn't have a choice and neither did he, is CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, he's on there.
He's making 2.5 this year.
Yeah.
As a first-round draft pick.
That's a bargain.
You know, if you're paying that dude $10 million, I'm like, damn, you're still getting a great deal. But for the most part, to your point.
And that, go ahead.
It's just, that tells you pretty much everything you need to know. When your high-priced guys are not playing at the value in which you have invested in them, and it's across the board. I mean, if you're 10 highest paid dudes, if you got 3 of them on IR and 6 of the other 7 are playing well below their level, you got a serious problem, and you're 2-4.
Yeah, I mean, because when we talk about Zeke, who's number 3 on this list, it's the fumble issue. I mean, like, he's not been a big enough difference maker because he's fumbling. And he's been part of the problem, not part of the solution. And that's disappointing to him and everybody else.
Man, I got to tell you, like, I've been blown away at the handful of people who are like, cut Zeke, get rid of Zeke, trade him, he's over. I'm like, man, I get it. The fumbles are weird. But you're talking about one of the top 3 or 4 running backs easily in the NFL, and you just want to get rid of them.
Hey, man, let me be honest with you.
Guys are nuts.
This is what in general fans do.
Especially when you're losing like this.
And this is why I always say, you know, players don't owe fans anything because fans turn on them all the time. If you played and you've gotten old, they want the new guy.
Yeah.
Fans, and they're fans, so they can. And so I'm not mad at them. But fans are in love with the name on the front of the jersey. Dallas, you know, Kansas City, New York, LA, whatever. They don't care about the players in general. Right. They just want their team to win and rep their city.
Glad to have all you guys out there. Don't forget, as always, you can find us on our YouTube channel. Just search Jam Session Podcast. And, of course, on Instagram as well for pictures and quick videos on Instagram at Jam Session Cast. But right now, we thought we would have a little fun here in the middle of the afternoon is when we're recording this. So, Jacques, we're at my house. And Jacques comes over, and I've got this little mini fridge that it's actually made to have beer stored in it.
Yeah, it's a beer fridge.
Yeah, it's a beer fridge. So it's a miniature refrigerator. It's got a clear glass door so you can see all the beers in it. I think it holds something like 72 beers.
It's got a bunch of beer names on the side of it.
Yeah, it's got all these different things. I wanted to cover it in beer stickers, but the lady friend shot that down.
Even though she gave it to you as your gift.
Yeah, she was like, well, it's like out in the living room. And it does. I mean, like, it looks nice the way that it is. So I've got a cooler and some other things that I put all my beer stickers on. But that being said, Jacques comes over. He's like, oh, you got a stout? What do you got in here?
Well, see, that's because I was feeling it's earlier in the day. Like it's just me, man, because I'm terrified of being a fat guy again. Even though I love myself and I'd be okay with a fat guy. I don't want to be a fat guy again.
Yeah.
So I prefer to have my beer consumption in the middle of the day. So I then can say, well, I've got the rest of the day to work off whatever it is. And I don't even drink a lot.
Makes sense.
But I was feeling very accomplished this morning. I went over there. I did an interview. Well, I said over there like y'all know where I was. I went, the JJT Media Group, which is my other business, where we'd have a lot of different projects going.
Right.
When I say we, it sounds like we're a big company, and we're growing. But I went over there because we had an opportunity to do a TV interview for a TV production company, because that's just how we do it at the JJT Media Group.
There you go.
And I was doing it with Drew Pearson. It's a fantastic conversation. You might even hear it on the podcast someday soon. So I was coming back. I was feeling very accomplished. I had a nice Subway sandwich, turkey with a little pepper jack, bunch of spinach on it. And I said, today, because I haven't had a beer in several days, and now Matt's turned me into a semi-alcoholic, I should have a beer. I said, I wonder if Matt's got a stout over there. I should have known better than to ask McLaren a very simple question. I mean, it's just like if you came to my house, since I now have beer, and you said, hey, Jacques, you got a stout? I go, I have 2 stouts from False Idol that are supposed to be fantastic, and I've tried them both, and they are. I have 7 or 8 different single stouts that I get because every time I go out, I just like to try them.
Yeah.
What would you like? That's kind of to me what I thought I was doing. No.
Way more intricate over here.
Yeah, way more.
Yeah, because, it's interesting. Usually at home, I'm not a big stout drinker. I mean, I've got a few, but my favorite style of beer is IPAs and a variety of different IPAs. So those are the ones that I tend to have the most of because I like to drink a few of those at a time. Stouts are beers, like I am much more likely to drink a stout at a brewery or out and about, like at a Flying Saucer or whatever,
right,
than I am at home because they're so heavy. I don't know why that is. And usually when I'm at home, if I'm going to drink, I'm going to have more than 1 or 2 versus being out at a bar where I usually might have 3 as a max.
Right.
So it's a little different philosophy. But yeah, you come over, and so I've got...
First he takes me on a beer tour. Like he's pulling out all these bottles. I'm like, well, those aren't in the freezer.
Yeah, because I've got where I cellar some beers where I'm aging them just to try them at different times and to see how the flavor of the beer changes over the course of time. So I've got a Pumpkinator, which is my favorite pumpkin stout from St. Arnold's. It's phenomenal. It's, to me, the best pumpkin beer there is. It's not even close. Yeah, out of Houston.
Dude, you should be crying tears that I knew that.
Yeah, look at you. And so I've got that one in my little cellar area where I keep some bottles. And then I had one from Parish Brewing Company out of Louisiana, which is in Broussard, if I recall correctly. I've got a Founders Canadian Breakfast Stout from 2018 up there. So I've just got a few beers. I got in my beer fridge, I actually had, and I was telling you, you looked at this one from the Abyss. It's Deschutes. Deschutes is the brewery. It's called the Abyss Reserve. It's an imperial stout aged in bourbon barrels from 2017. And it is like, that's a 5-star beer to me.
Like that's a $30 beer.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
And I go, dude, I'm not even going to open my mouth to drink your $30 beer.
Not today.
No.
That would be a cool one. And then we go through it, and here's what happens. So my lady friend is also really into beer. And one of the things that we like to do a lot is we will go to different breweries together on the weekend. As a matter of fact, that's usually every weekend. We go to at least one brewery. I mean, we go to Celestial a lot because it's in the medical district. We did a podcast with Celestial. And oddly enough, from where we live in Irving, it's with no traffic, it's like 12 minutes to get to Celestial. And we love their beers and the people, and so we go there a lot. We go to Three Nations a lot because we play trivia there. We're either at trivia on Thursday nights at Three Nations or Celestial. And then we go like Odd Muse and False Idol and Turning Point out in the mid-cities, I guess. But she's really, really into beer. So the beer's in the beer fridge, unless I know that she has had it before.
Yeah.
If we only have one of them, I can't share it with somebody else because she'll get irritated because she wants to try it. So I've got one in my beer fridge now, it's a really great imperial stout from 903 called Ogre. And I've had it a couple of times, but I had to pull up Untapped. And I was looking at it, and Untappd is an app for people that drink beer where you can check in beer and take notes and all that stuff.
Right.
So I do that on Untappd. I've got thousands of check-ins on there. So I went to hers real quick and looked at it, and I was like, oh, she hadn't checked this in.
So he snatches it out of my hand.
So I was like, we can't have this one.
No, he snatched. I was looking, he snatched it out of my hand.
Like, no.
And he put it in a cooler. No. And I was like, what are you Matt, I'm like, you're joking, right? No, Molly. No.
Can't have that, no.
No, my lady friend hadn't tried that. I go, I almost said it. And then,
I'm telling you, man. Yeah, it's unfortunate. If she was here this afternoon, I mean, she would try it. We could crack it open and drink whatever we wanted. But then I'm like, okay, fine. Then I got to go locate it. I'll get another one for you. Sorry.
You know what, man? See, I'm just going to tell the people. It's all about your effing happy time. You don't want to jeopardize your happy time.
Look, let's be honest. And every man knows this. And I think a lot of women know it. They just don't. It's the power of the pee. It is. And there is no power greater than that in human history.
Well, look how many civilizations it's taken down.
Not just that. Look at the very beginning of the Bible at the Garden of Eden. What happened to Adam? He could not resist it. He had to have it. So he took a bite of the apple, turned around, saw that naked chick there. I was like, oh my God, this is wonderful. And man has been fighting against that since really the dawn of time.
Yeah, as I like to say, you come out of it and you spend the rest of your life trying to get back in there.
I mean, that's just the reality of what it is. And I think we all understand that at some point. But the one stout that we did decide that we are going to jump on here this afternoon is from Armadillo Ale Works, which is up in Denton.
Okay, now we got to tell you, this is not just a sip. This is like random, let's have a beer talk.
Yeah, because you wanted to have a beer, and I was like, well, I'm going to drink if you're going to drink, because I'm that type of friend. I will tell you will never drink alone if you're with me.
Yeah, but you ain't going to drink the lady friend's beer.
No, I'm not. I'm not stupid. Come on, man. So we selected this one, and Armadillo Ale Works is actually a really good brewery up there in Denton, for those that aren't familiar with it. The GABF Awards, which is like the Oscars for beer, was last weekend, the Great American Beer Festival. And that's,
really,
World Beer Cup means something, but GABF Awards are a really big deal. Armadillo Ale Works became, and I'd have to do some research on this, but I know it hadn't happened in a long time, especially with Texas breweries. They won a gold medal for the second time for their honey beer called Honey Please. And it is phenomenal. It is a phenomenal beer. And they now have 2 gold medals that they've won for that beer. So if you get a chance, and I got to get us some because it's natural honey that it's brewed with, and it's really good, man. But anyway, this brewer that we're trying today is called Brunch Money, which is an Imperial Golden Stout. And one thing that people always think about, that can't be a stout. It's not dark. Stout.
That was my initial thought.
See, stout originally did not mean dark. It meant heavy. And for whatever reason over the years, we came to affiliate stout with dark when really that's not what it means.
And what's funny about that is when we started Just a Sip, and this is not just a sip, this is just a beer. See, that could be a different segment.
Yeah, this is just a beer, because you know what? We're probably having the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm opening my mouth, put it in.
I was like, that beer is dark brown. Your boy is not interested. And that turned out to be my favorite one.
So the Golden Stouts, and there's a few breweries that make them. Texas Ale Project makes one that's really, really good called the Caucasian here locally. Buffalo Bayou makes one, like White Buffalo or whatever that's called. But Armadillo Ale Works is called Brunch Money. And this is an Imperial Golden Stout. And it's golden just because of the malts. So they don't use dark malts. So it doesn't make the beer dark.
Let me blow Matt's mind. This is the mouth on this, Matt. See, right there, he's like, oh my, Taylor's talking beer talk. I'm just going to say this. Tell me what you think. The mouth on this, to me, is so light, it feels almost like a porter, not a stout.
It is a little light, yeah. It's light. It's lighter to me than it has been in years past, because this is a 10% alcohol beer.
Oh my God, I need an Uber.
Yeah, and so they tell you on the can, it's brewed with coffee, cacao, lactose, maple syrup, and natural vanilla flavor. And you get all of that. And I will say, this is This is one of the better versions. There's been a couple they've put out in years past that were way too syrupy for me, like too much maple, and then sometimes too much vanilla or whatever. But this one,
bitter beers.
Yeah, but I mean, they tell you on the can. I mean, there's a picture of a stack of pancakes with syrup and butter on it. So you expect it to be a little sweet, and it is. It is a sweet vanilla maple-ish beer.
Yeah, it's pretty good though. It's pretty good. And I told Matt, so I'll take y'all.
I like it. I like this. This might be the best version I've had.
I'll take y'all behind the curtain even more. When we were at Beer Geeks, I just asked Deidre, the owner of Beer Geeks, hey, give me 4 stouts. It'll probably take me 6 weeks to drink them, but give them to me. One of them was this one, Brunch Money. So I told Matt, if I don't like it, I'll just bring you the one I don't like.
There you go. Yeah, so Brunch Money, I was trying to think how many times I've had this, because this is a beer that's been around for a while, and I've checked it in each of the...
bitterness.
Wow. I first had it in 2016. And then I had it in 2018 and now again in 2020. And I've liked it more each time I've had it.
Yeah. So there you have it.
Yeah, so there you go. From Armadillo Ale Works. Just a beer. I like that. God, this is great. That means every time you come over to do one of these, I can bust out one of my beers and we can down it.
It just made sense today. But unlike Just a Sip, which is more like a flight of beers, this is just a beer.
Yeah, because sometimes I like to do that. Like there's beers that I want or that I want to try, but I know that I don't want the whole thing. You know, the lady friend and I sometimes on a Friday night or a Saturday night when we stay home, we'll crack open beers and make a flight for ourselves and just sit and have a flight at home.
Interesting.
Yeah, because we have our own flight boards and everything. It's a good time. Yeah, so.
Get you an initial monogram flight board.
We got to hit them up there. I know a dude that works for Armadillo Ale Works. We got to get up there and do a show at Armadillo in Denton.
Hey, can I tell you something? We're our own bosses. We can do whatever the hell we want to do.
Yeah, we can. It's the best. Another area of this team, when we look at it, you know, we talk about these guys that are overpriced or not playing up to their value, but something has got to be done about this defense, because this defense that Dallas is putting out there, it's not just bad. It is colossally on pace to be, in some categories, the worst defense the NFL has ever seen.
Dude, I mean that's saying a lot now.
It is saying a lot.
I mean, that's saying a lot.
But when you look at this, through 6 games of the regular season so far, they've given up more points than any other team has given up through 6 games in NFL history. They are on pace to shatter the record for points allowed. They're allowing 36.3 points a game.
And they didn't get no better last night because they gave up 38.
Yeah, and again, I know some of you are going to be yelling at this podcast going, well, the offense keeps turning it over. I get it. But look, on a couple of those turnovers, Dallas had 2 opportunities when they turned it over in Arizona, basically in their own territory. They allowed Arizona to, on the one interception, to go from their own 21-yard line, on the other one to go from their own 49-yard line. They had third down chances to stop them both times and couldn't do it. They're giving up 4 points a game more than any other team in the NFL right now.
But they've also given up 80 points on turnovers.
And just so people kind of understand how big of a gap that is, because 4 points doesn't sound like a big gap.
It is huge. It's like a Grand Canyon chasm.
The gap between number 1 Baltimore and number 10 San Francisco is 4 points. So the Cowboys are that far behind the next worst team when 10, you can go in groups of 10 and they're all within 4 points of each other throughout the NFL until you get to Dallas.
It's amazing, man. It's incredible. I put a lot of blame. Well, let me put it like this, man. Because as I was disseminating the blame, I got to tell you, dog, this to me feels like it's a team award for worst defense in, NFL history or whatever. Because the offense has turned the ball over so much, 15 times, leading to like 80-something points. The defense can't stop anybody. And so to me, there's no one place to blame. It's a collective thing that everybody shares. And that's the hardest thing, or that's the thing that they got to come to grips with. And I don't know that it's going to get any better because, here's the deal. They're giving up 36 points a game. They're giving up 14 points off of turnovers in every game.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a humongous number.
And they don't take the ball away. I mean, I think everybody is aware of this now. 3 takeaways in 6 games. They're dead last in the NFL in takeaways. They're dead last in turnover margin. They're towards the bottom in yards per play. They allow 6 yards a play to the opposing offense. 6 yards a play.
That's 2 plays and it's a first down.
That's ridiculous.
I told you they're giving up 5.2 per carry. Jim Brown averaged 5.2 per carry. They're making everybody look like Jim Brown. And what elite running backs have they faced other than Nick Chubb? Who else have they faced who's supposed to be a killer? Nobody?
No one.
And so, dude, now you ask yourself, how can they be on record to give up the most points in NFL history? How can they be 31st in the league, giving up 5.2 a carry? How can they be 27th in the league, giving up 410 yards? How can they be last in the league in turnovers and 31st and giving up 173 yards rushing per game? And I got to tell you, man, I look at it, and there's only one man to point the finger at, man. It's Mike Nolan's defense.
It is.
And I think Mike Nolan, if you listen to him, he sounds like a sweet guy.
Well, that's neat. Then go pick a profession. Like, go be a pediatrician where being sweet maybe matters.
He feels authentic, but I'm going to continue to bang this drum. And I'm not going to change my mind. I just think that dude, this is, to me, it's your boy, man. It's just me. This is so dumb on so many levels to try in a pandemic where you don't have a traditional offseason to not only change the scheme from the 4-3 to the 3-4,
right,
which requires different type of personnel to change the scheme and try to implement, not only change it, but then implement a complicated scheme in a time where you can't practice. Everything's got to be virtual. That was just one of the dumbest ideas of all time. And so while you get mad at Mike Nolan, you also have to get mad at your boy Mike McCarthy for co-signing on this foolishness.
And yes, you heard in the background the doorbell. I hope that it's
Pizza?
not. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's Mike Nolan. He's like, I tracked you down. I hear you guys trashing me. Come on, guys. No, but I mean, the reality of it is, and we've talked about this. I've said this, maybe every podcast episode, but I feel like you can't say it enough. We were told when Mike Nolan came in here by McCarthy, by Nolan, by the players, how excited they were that this was a defense that would get pressure on the quarterback and would take the ball away. We're not seeing either one of those things happen. Dead last, as I just mentioned, in takeaways. And, if they'd be like in the bottom second third or the top of the bottom third in pressure and sacks. They have 11 sacks. The league worst is 5. The league high is 24. So they're just below average, so to speak, in that. But, in some categories, you're either below average or you're horrible. You're trash.
But see, I look at the sacks and say, in general, the sacks are because you're playing from behind every game. Teams don't have to throw. They throw it at their leisure whenever they feel like it. So that's hard to do. Turnovers, man. I've never been really a proponent that scheme creates that many turnovers. I think ballers, them dogs, those are the guys who create turnovers.
Well, if that's the case, and then obviously historically, as we know, they don't have those guys.
No, they don't.
The hope was that maybe Trayvon Diggs comes in here and is able to change that a little bit, but in 6 games, he's got 0 takeaways.
I was going to say.
Although I guess technically he's credited for a takeaway because he punched the ball out of DK Metcalf's hand. And, because I always forget about that one, because in my mind, I'm like, well, they only have 2. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that one in Seattle because that technically is considered a takeaway.
Cheeto sliding interception in game 1.
Right.
DK Metcalf in game 3 getting the ball punched out by Trayvon Diggs. And then strip sack fumble by Tank Lawrence.
To Anthony Brown. Yeah.
There you go.
Those are the 3.
There's your turnovers.
Yeah, and that's it. So they have, think about that. They have 1 interception in 6 games, which I don't know, to your point, why are we surprised? We talked about this when we sat down with Chris Richard at camp a couple of years ago, and we sat there and go, what is this? Why do you guys not get more picks? We asked those guys. We talked to Jordan Lewis and Cheeto about it, asking why they don't get more interceptions.
Yeah.
They get their hands on some balls. What? It's funny to say that.
Yes, I try to avoid that.
On a podcast,
phrase.
we can explore that.
No, we can't.
Why not?
No. Footballs, man.
They're like the doctor giving you a physical. You know, they can get their hand on the balls, but they can't. That's a great analogy, because much like the doctor doesn't take your balls home, he just touches them and makes sure it's good, and then you leave. That's exactly what they do. They give physicals to the offensive quarterback. They go, "Oh, your ball looks good, great," and then they just let it happen.
Dude, stop.
No, but I mean, for real, this is, for whatever reason, they continually, over the course of the last several years, do not have anybody in the secondary who takes the ball away.
No, and see, I think that's an art. It's a playmakers, man. I mean, some guys just have a knack for it, and then some guys don't. And they've never been a team that had guys, during this latest regime, to sign guys who have a knack for it.
God, so crazy. Only them and Houston have one interception. Everybody else in the NFL has 2 or more. And 27 of the 32 teams have 3 or more picks.
And 3 ain't even no big number, man.
I mean, think about that. Can you imagine? I mean, look at this. The Colts lead the NFL in 10.
My God.
Dallas has 9 fewer interceptions than the Indianapolis Colts.
It's just bad, man. And it goes back to this, dog. You know, I've said it many times now. They're a bad team, and folks just got to come to grips with that.
To John Jack Taylor, it's Matt McLaren. Glad to have you guys rolling with us. Again, I would encourage you, if you or somebody you know owns a local business and would be interested in sponsoring the show to help keep us going, that would be awesome. Just shoot us an email, jamsessioncast@gmail.com, jamsessioncast@gmail.com, and we can get you some more information on that. And also, don't forget, if you were listening to this on Wednesday, it is now 2 days away, but starting on Friday, October 23rd, we will be broadcasting live from Oak Highlands Brewing Company in the Lake Highlands area, Friday afternoons at 4 o'clock, right in time for your end of the week happy hour. You can swing by, hang out with us. We'll be doing a YouTube live podcast. You'll be able to come to the brewery, hear it over the speakers, and drink some beers with us. So looking forward to that, man.
How about that?
That's going to be a lot of fun, actually. I'm stoked on Friday. We have done this many times on our radio show. We've done it before on the podcast, and it is our weekly look at the Peep Show. Shows we've been peeping that we've been interested in. And we recently started, we tried a couple of different things, and we look around, and then it becomes, okay,
pick something.
Yeah, is there something you really want to watch? And I'll tell you this, because we watched it in 2 days.
Wow.
I think it was either 4 episodes or 5. And it was the docuseries that's on Netflix about the Challenger disaster.
Yeah.
And dude, it is really, really good.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't have any doubt that it's really, really good. It's too heavy for me. I don't want to see it.
I can understand that. I mean, it was one of those things. I was 7 years old when it happened. I was about to turn 8. And I mean, they wheeled in the TV, and my lady friend was like, wow, really? They did that? And I was like, yeah, because...
Big deal.
Yeah, you have to realize they were sending a teacher into space.
Krista something from Ohio.
Yeah, Krista McAuliffe. And so all the school, maybe not all of them, but it was a big deal for teachers and for students, like, hey, they're putting one of us, the teacher. And so we watched it happen live in elementary school. And, as a kid, like, oh, what's this? I don't know what's happening. And they go into detail, and it really tells the personal stories of the 7 astronauts who died in that disaster. And it goes and tells their stories, and also tells about, quite honestly, what was a cover-up by NASA that tried to hold back information from letting it know that, hey, you know what? We screwed up here. This is on us. We knew that there was a problem with the O-rings well in advance. And it even had the guy who was the original whistleblower, who had to put his name out there, calls the New York Times and goes, no, this is wrong. And I've got the papers to prove it.
Wow.
And the New York Times guy was like, look, sometimes you have a source and you go, okay, cool, I can keep you anonymous. He goes, on this, I had to have a name. I had to have the name with the title of, we've got a dude that works for NASA who has this. And he said they put that out there, and it blew open this congressional hearing going on at the time. And
now, why did they, was it the pressure to get the launch off?
Yeah, it was basically what ended up happening was some company in Utah that built the rocket boosters, they knew that in cold temperatures, the O-rings could shrink and crack, and that they weren't absolutely secure. And because as it filtered up the chain, one of the guys who was at a higher up level was like, look, we can't delay this launch any longer because they'd already delayed it once because of weather. We have to get these launches off because they had scheduled more launches in 1986 than they'd ever scheduled in NASA history in 1 year. And they were like, we have to stay on schedule. This has to go. It's worth the risk. You know, we should be fine. And they killed 7 people.
It's worth the risk. We should be fine. See, that's that whole 1 in a million scenario.
Yes.
Like, you know, it's 1 in a million chance it blows up.
Right.
Okay, fine. And that's great unless you're the one.
But they had this meeting, and there are dudes in the room going, you shouldn't launch. We should not launch. And the guy, you know, you have one of these meetings, and the boss has 7 people in there, and so 3 of them are like, don't launch. 4 of them are like, whatever. And he's got to make the decision. He decided to roll with, we're going to launch.
Well, what happened to him?
So at the end of all the congressional hearings and stuff, obviously they remove him. And he's on this documentary. There are 2 guys on this documentary, and one of them to this day was like, you can show me whatever you want to show me, and you can say whatever you want to say. I made that decision at the time, and I'd make it again today. I was like, you're a fucking moron, dude. How can you sit there and say the decision that you made that killed 7 people, you'd make the same decision today? What is wrong with, and it's some old ass, like 85-year-old guy. Stubborn asshole, man.
And see, I'm always struck by it because I was in college then. And I remember it blew up. And I remember thinking about it as I was going to class. I had psychology class.
Yeah.
That's why I remember. I mean, I just remember it all. Walking across campus going, damn, that was whack. It's messed up. Dude, it's terrible. Got to class, professor said, because Challenger was a big deal, because one of them, I think it was Krista, was from Ohio. So it was a big deal.
Yeah, she was.
That's what I'm saying. It was a big deal. I mean, you're talking about a teacher. You're talking about the state capital, Columbus. It was a huge deal. And so the professor walked in, you know, class canceled. Go back.
Dude, yeah, I mean, it's if you ever do any reading on the Challenger, I've read some stuff on it. It goes beyond that because, yeah, they exploded in the air, but at first they tried to say, you know, they were killed in the explosion and they died instantly. We now know that that's not true, that they believe most of them were still alive on the descent and that they were killed on impact when they hit the water of the ocean.
Really?
Yes. And, you know, it's got like the wives and the family members and stuff of the crew and McAuliffe's husband at the time and all this. I mean, it moves, man. I mean, it's a 4-hour, I think it's 4 episodes, each an hour long. And especially if you're not real familiar with the story, you just learn so much about the people and so much about, I mean, what is NASA doing? There's 2 people that, one of them, and now he's in Huntsville, Alabama, which is where they have a space center and stuff. And look, Huntsville, for those that don't know, I knew this because I lived in Bama, they have the highest per capita ratio of geniuses of any city in the country.
Really?
Because NASA has a thing there and there's all these space rocket scientist people there. But this guy, at this point, he had hair coming out of his ears and he was missing a couple teeth. And I would swear to God, I was waiting for him to go, you know what, man? Roll Tide. How about that? Yeah, I said it should launch, and then I said after that, Roll Tide. RMFTR. But outside of that, I mean, it is worth watching if you're into that. But elsewhere in the Peep Show, and I forgot how unbelievably good this show is.
What is it?
The Wire. Now, it's one of my favorite, it's in my top 3.
Right.
But I hadn't seen it in years, and my lady friend's never seen it. So we just finished season 1 yesterday.
Oh, now, okay, check this out. If you haven't seen The Wire by now, too bad. We're spoiling it for you.
And I'll tell you this, man. Season 1 is some of the best television you can watch. It is, especially the last 3 or 4 episodes, because it is so raw and so real. What you want to happen, what is supposed to be right or just, this is real life as it gets, man. Right. And look, I'll tell you this, those of you who are complaining, and yeah, I dropped an F-bomb a minute ago, oh man, I can't, don't watch The Wire, because they say the F word probably 400 times an episode. Because you know what? They're in the projects of Baltimore with people that are on heroin. It deals with the season 1 deals with the drug trade and shows it from the drug lord perspective to the guys that are in the projects making the deals. And then it shows it from the police perspective of how they work with the district attorneys in the politics of all that world to actually make a bust.
Yeah.
It's riveting.
No, like, and see, that's when I first got introduced to surprise murder. Like when they killed Wallace. And I'm like, whoa.
Dude, I knew I knew because I remembered that. And still, when we were watching it the other day and they killed Wallace, that is because, man, and you hear D'Angelo Barksdale, who's one of the main characters, explains it when he's trying to rat. He goes, I want to breathe. He's like, man, y'all, you guys don't get it. He goes, my granddad started this in the projects, this drug trade. He goes, this is all I know. He goes, this is just what you do.
Yeah.
He's like, there are no other options. And you could tell, like, even Wallace didn't want to do it. But then what did he want to do? He wanted to live in the country by himself with a grandmother that didn't know him. He had no idea where his mom was. He's 16 years old, sleeping on a peed-on mattress in some shithole project apartment with 9 other people.
Yeah.
And that's real life, man. That's real.
Yeah. And then at the end, when they kill the other guy, I'm just, like, I didn't see that one coming. I mean, I saw it coming, but I was like, well, he's a star character, so I was more like, I wonder how he's gonna get out of this. Maybe they'll, write him off or transfer him to another jail. And he's gone, man. And I'm just like,
dude,
whoa.
it's season 1 is really, really well done and powerful. And season 2 I've always not liked because it's the docs. But one thing that makes The Wire really unique is each of the 5 seasons deal with a different aspect of law enforcement and how it works with city organization, with a crime, to deal with crime like in a city like Baltimore. It's really, if you haven't seen The Wire, man, you've got to see it. But again, those of you that have emailed about the F word, don't watch it because you won't be able to handle it. I mean, if you can't handle an F-bomb once every 2 hours, what will you do in an hour when they say it 400 times? Because it's vulgar, dude. But yeah, those are the shows that we've been watching lately. I think we might get to start season 2 tonight. We'll see if we have time to do it or not. But yeah, I mean, season 1, God dang, it's good. It's just good television.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. You're making me want to watch it again.
You got to watch it again.
I mean, I've seen it like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, see, because I've seen The Sopranos 3 times, I've seen Breaking Bad twice, and now I'm going through The Wire for the second time.
I could probably watch Breaking Bad again because now you can binge it and you can really watch it. Because now, I mean, see, this is interesting, and this is Matt's fault because everything goes back to beer. Like when Matt introduced me to some craft beer for the first time, when we first started doing Just a Sip, like probably a year ago or whatever, whenever we started. Some things I go, I don't know. And so now that I kind of know what craft beer is about in general, I've been going back trying stuff that I drank before that's in the stuff that I like.
Yeah, dude, yeah.
And I do that so I go, it'll taste different because I have a deeper understanding of what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
And so it's all kind of different. So my point being, when you watch The Wire, when you watch Breaking Bad for the second time, you see it in a much different lens than when it's all brand new because you can see the character development because you're not so distracted by all the other stuff.
Yeah, like I'm actually looking forward to season 2 this time because now I understand, with the connection of McNulty basically. And it's funny too because I picked on stuff that I remembered and my lady friend is like, he already said that? I was like, he said in literally the first episode, they were talking about it in the office about, this dude got sent over here and McNulty goes, he goes, you can send me anywhere. I just don't want to go to the docks. And then at the end of the episode of the whole season, 13 episodes later, it becomes obvious we're getting rid of you. And his boss goes, so I want to make sure I take care of you. Tell me where you don't want to go. And I remember back, oh my God, first episode of the season. And so that's why in season 2, he's sent to the docks because he didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
And so the end of season 1 shows McNulty, and he's now a dock police, a Marine police unit guy. And so I have a better understanding of everything that caused him, I think, now to become why second season's going to happen. So I'm actually looking forward to it, whereas before I couldn't stand it. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, The Wire, God dang, it's good, man. It is good, good, good. It's interesting. And since this is a podcast, we can do whatever we want. Like, I don't have to go to break right now, which is great. Because you popped that into my mind about changing up, like when you try something again.
Yeah.
And I used to hate hot sauce. Like I would never do sriracha or like even hot sauce, anything, jalapenos.
Right.
Now I put jalapenos on everything. I put sriracha on everything. I love spicy foods. And to your point, like with the beer thing, it's really interesting because there are beers now that when I first had them, I was like, oh my God, and I look at my ratings. That's why I love Untapped, because I can go back and be like, I had this beer 4 years ago and I hated it. And now I'm like, what was I missing back then? Or vice versa. And it's just like your palate changes, what you like in a beer changes, your understanding of things change. Makes it work, man.
No, it's interesting.
So check that out. The Challenger thing on Netflix and The Wire, which I've been watching that because, we got that HBO thing that I keep forgetting to make it go away. But they have such good programming.
Hey, man, there's nothing wrong with HBO, though.
I sit there, how I justify it like this. I go, well, it's $15 a month, which means we're going to have to not buy 3 beers that we would normally buy this month, and then it's paid for.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. But the other thing is, and I do this with myself on several different things, and I make conscious choices and decisions about it, man. What else are you spending $15 worth, $15 on that brings you that amount of entertainment?
That's very true.
Like
Not
if
much.
if y'all went to the movies once, that's like $30. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I wasn't a big Apple Music fan. Like, I don't pay $10 for that. I don't listen to that much music. And then I find myself like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it. And it's not even for me all new music. It's about I can find the old music I want.
Yeah, that's what it is for me.
I can find these different playlists, or I can find an artist, or I can find any number of things that makes it good.
Yeah, my thing with paying for music became, originally I didn't with Amazon, and I would ask for certain songs to play, and it wasn't available to me, and it just drove me nuts. And I was like, I want to be, for $7 a month, I'd like to be able to ask my smart speaker to play whatever song I feel like hearing, because sometimes like I'll play a song and then it connects me and I go down the rabbit hole and I just want to keep going. I don't want her to say, sorry, you don't have access to that or whatever. I want access to all of it.
That's what she said.
Well, depending on who it is, she can have access to all of it. Thanks for listening to the Jam Session Podcast. If you would, please find us on Instagram at Jam Session Cast. Don't forget, we're also available on our YouTube channel. We're going to be doing a lot of YouTube lives coming up, so make sure you're subscribed to that as we get that thing rolling at Jam Session Podcast. And of course, you can find us on Twitter at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist. Our director of creative content is Brian Hart. Thanks to Purple Elephant Music for the music you hear at the end and beginning of each episode. He, of course, is the radio and TV star, the sexy Jean-Jacques Taylor. And I'm just a guy, Matt McLaren. Please remember, if you would, to subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. And if you could rate and review this episode, it helps us out a lot. Much appreciated. We'll catch you next time on the Jam Session Podcast, available everywhere you listen to podcasts.